to continue optimizing your LinkedIn profile by editing your summary section. Actually, no, I'm sorry, not the summary section. First, we're going to do the number of job position in your experience area. Let me show you what I mean. The experience area is, I'm on my LinkedIn profile, and if I scroll down, the experience area is this place that says experience, and this is where you can add positions. Basically, your previous jobs, the current roles that you hold in your business, etc., etc. Okay, so let's take a look to see what the tips are here. So the more keywords that you have in the title and company fields. What do I mean by title and company fields? This is a title field. This is a company field. Again, further down. This is a title field. This is a company field. Okay, further down. This is a title field. This is a company field. Further down. This is a title field. This is a company field. Okay, so the more keywords, remember we talked in the last lecture about keywords, what your ideal clients are probably searching for in search engines such as Google and LinkedIn. The more of such keywords you have, right? So you may actually, one great assignment for you is to write down first on a separate document all the keywords that your ideal clients are looking for on Google and LinkedIn, and you're going to be guessing at first. And we're going to refine those keywords by searching on LinkedIn, looking at other people's profiles and notice what phrases and words they use. But you also refine your keywords by just working with your clients and noticing what kinds of needs that they keep asking you about, what kinds of goals that they keep asking you to help them achieve. Okay. Okay. So the more of those keywords are in the job title and the company name, the more you're going to be found on LinkedIn, because the LinkedIn search engine greatly prioritizes the job title and the company name. I would say that from my research, they most prioritize the professional headline keywords, and then secondly, they prioritize the keywords in the job title and company name. Okay, so be sure to be aware of that. And then given that LinkedIn prioritizes the keywords in those things, having more job positions on your experience area would therefore be beneficial. And you might say, well, George, how can I add more jobs than I've held? And here's what I mean by that, is if you have held, for example, in a previous job, let's say you have been in, you were in a particular manager position. Let's say you were managing human resources, and then you shifted in that company to doing more marketing management or more, some kind of a operations management or something. Those you can add as two separate positions on LinkedIn, because those were two separate roles that you held. Now, if you held that role for only a week, or only a month, that might not be worth putting on LinkedIn. But if you held that role for several months and certainly several years, that would be worthwhile to separate out in your LinkedIn profile, so you have more keywords that are you have more keywords on your profile. Okay. Same thing in your business. If you have held multiple roles, significant roles, write those roles out. Also, here are some more ideas of things to add. Talked about previous employment, current employment. If you have more than one service in your business, consider adding them as separate positions. So for example, or if you have more than one program, like more than one coaching program. So for example, in the past, I used to do two separate coaching programs in one business. I used to train people on social media, so that was my social media training program. And I also used to coach people on how to run webinars. So that was my webinar method coaching program. So those were two separate positions on my LinkedIn, and you can see, another example is I have a podcast and I build community around that podcast. So that's a separate role I have currently in my business. Also, I run my coaching program, my one-to-one business and marketing coaching program. And I even put my coaching program's name as the company name. Now, when I do this, okay, when I edit the company name, okay, when I edit the company name and click save, sometimes LinkedIn is going to ask me, it's not doing that right now, but sometimes it's going to ask me, do I want to set up a company page? Now, my opinion on this is that it's not really worth setting up a company page unless you're going to keep that company page active. A company page is like a separate profile, except it's for your company. I don't recommend setting up a company page for a product or a service. The way that LinkedIn's company pages are set is it's supposed to be a company, and multiple people who work at that company will add that company page as part of their profile. So that's really, the company pages are really designed for medium to larger companies that are trying to recruit more people into their company. So people who are potential candidates for that company will go to that company page, follow that company, see what positions are available, that kind of, and contact the people who are in that company for informational interviews. That's really what it's for. And of course, recruiters can go to that company page and follow that, etc. But it's for those of us who are solopreneurs or really tiny businesses, I don't know, I don't think it's worth setting up a company page, in my opinion, because it's another thing to manage, and not that many people will follow your company pages because it's not a household name yet. So I like to use the company page field for my program, my coaching programs, or if I wrote a book, that would be, author, and then the book title would be the where the company page field is. Okay, further down, as you can see, founder. So this was a project that I ran for 10 months. That's a significant amount of time in my business, and I invested a significant amount of energy into that project. So I put that as a separate program. I also ran a project for another company called the Shift Network. So I put that here, and I used the company. So as you can see, change company. This was actually a see, when I start putting in the company name, right, and I put in the Shift Network, it will give me a listing of all the available company pages. So I selected the right one because I recognize their logo, and then I click Save. And so now when people come to my profile, they will see the logo for the company associated with this position. Make sense? And they can even hover over this and follow the company, or I'm already following. So if I click here, I would stop following, but I want to follow this company. So scroll down further. Your highest work was my previous business name, and so I was running that for about a year under that name, and so I kind of put some keywords of the roles I held in that company, in that business. Each of these roles was quite similar for me, so I put them in one position. Another kind of business project that I was creating was called the Business Alliance, and I ran that for about a year. So as you can see, one of the things that I have learned, and I hope you'll learn as well, in entrepreneurship, it's about experimenting more. Good entrepreneurship is about experimenting more, learning from your experiments, and further on experimenting more. So you can see in my job positions, I've experimented a lot with different projects, right? 1 year here, 1 year here, and I learned a lot as a result. See, webinar method coaching program, there it is. Webinar method coach, serving consultants, clients. So here I'm putting in more keywords so that those who are looking for that kind of person will tend to find me. My program name is there as in the company name. And then again, my social media program was in a separate position. Okay. Other things that you might want to use, as I mentioned, if you're an author, if you've written a book or several books, if you've written more than one book, those can be separate positions on your LinkedIn profile. If you've been a creator or host of a major event of some kind, a telesummit, a conference, a workshop you run on ongoingly, that can be a separate position, the name of your workshop, and what you do in that, the title is, workshop, host, coach, sort of some roles that you play within that workshop, teacher, etc. If you are a frequent guest blogger on a well-known website that people in your industry would recognize, you might want to put that in as a separate position as well. So this is so important. That's why I wanted to kind of spend extra time on this. In the next lecture, we will talk about what to write in your summary section, which is one of the first things people look at when they come and look at your LinkedIn profile. So I'll see you in that lecture.
Power, and welcome to this quick overview of how to create an impressive LinkedIn profile for an easy job search. So I'm guessing you might have heard about LinkedIn, and you've reached the point that you're now at least curious to the fact that you're going to have to probably set up a LinkedIn profile. You may have heard stories about your colleagues who have been approached by recruiters through LinkedIn, and how these recruiters have actually invited them in for interviews. You may have heard that many recruiters and employers actually search LinkedIn before they actually put an advertisement up on Seek or some other similar job site. So now it's almost a done deal that you have to have a LinkedIn account, especially if you're in a management or senior executive level role, or if you're considered somewhat of an expert in the field that you're actually in at the moment. It's these type of people that the recruiters are constantly searching for LinkedIn for jobs that actually are never advertised. But if you're actually a mid-level professional in a support or maybe admin or a coordination role, it is worth watching this video, especially if you've got dreams of moving up through the ranks and becoming maybe a highly paid expert or applying for a management position sometime in the next 3 to 5 years. But before I begin, I just want to quickly introduce myself and just quickly give you a little bit about my experience with LinkedIn. I'm Bonnie Power. I'm CEO of Melbourne Resumes, and I've also got some other personal branding URLs as well. And I've been helping people develop professional LinkedIn profiles and resumes for the past 8 years. I've used LinkedIn personally to connect with prospective employers to promote some of the clients that I've assisted with career services, and I've also used LinkedIn to find candidates for job openings for both my business and that of my local business network. My expertise in LinkedIn comes from experience and learning from some of the world's best LinkedIn experts. So it's fair to say that I know how to create a powerful LinkedIn profile and how to leverage this social media platform to get maximum efficiency. So today I'm delighted to share with you some information that will help you with an overview of a LinkedIn profile and what a good profile actually looks like. I'm going to show you my own profile as an example and reveal to you the strategies of why I've used some of the keywords and format the profile like I have. I think it's important for you to see a good example, but also to know the reason why something's been done the way it has, so you can sort of get the strategy behind it. So at the end of the video, I'm going to invite you to a webinar that we've got running for a limited time. This webinar is free, and if you use the link, you can get access to the free link, but to the general public it's going to be worth $47. So it's an interactive online training session, and it goes through the 10 steps of actually creating a really powerful profile. I'll give you the links to reserve your seat at the end of the video. So we'll get started now, and I will show you the different sections of my LinkedIn profile so that you can see an overview of what a good profile actually looks like. Okay, now this is a crucial part of your profile, and there's just different sections here. So firstly, brand your professional headline, which is here, with words that are going to entice people to contact you. So you've got 110 characters and you've got to use them wisely. For your personal name, I'd make sure that it actually is your name. Some people put in little keywords sort of stuffing it for SEO purposes, which is not that professional. I just have your name, and if your name is taken, then put the word in Australia or your country's name, or put something that is to do with your title. The location helps people know where you're based, and the industry is important because people are going to use that as a filter to search for you. Having a really good professional clean photo where people can actually see your smile, that you're looking into the camera and it's just a headshot, it's not of the whole person, is recommended as well. The second section is your actual summary, and this gives people an opportunity to get to know a little bit more about you. Now, it's not just a copy and paste of your resume, it's more about the getting to know your experience through a narrative writing style. So you can be a little bit more casual. A resume is usually short and succinct and to the point. The LinkedIn profile can use almost like a conversational tone, and it's really important that you do that because people are dealing with people. This is like social media. It's not some professional bio that they're reading in an annual report. So you don't use a third person. You actually try to let your character shine. Now underneath you can choose the way you arrange the sections. I've personally put in some of the work that I've done on SlideShare, which is another social media platform that's actually owned by LinkedIn. And these are just little videos and interesting slides that I think would be good for my people who I'm connected with on LinkedIn. So you can have this section if you want. It shows your knowledge of the industry that you're in, and it doesn't take too much to do. So it's something that only about 10% of people are doing it, and if you can be in that top 10%, then you're easily differentiating yourself as being someone who's worth looking at within your industry. The next section is your work experience section, and this is where a lot of people don't actually fill it out. They just leave it blank. And what happens when you leave it blank is it raises questions about your credibility and if in actual fact you do have relevant experience. So don't hide anything, just put it all out there. You don't need to reveal specific measurable results that you delivered for the company like a resume perhaps would. In here you give an overview of some of the key things, the key results that you delivered to each of the organisations that you've worked with. Try and get at least a recommendation from each of the companies you've worked with over the last 5 to 10 years, because that just basically builds your credibility. It builds people's trust in what you're saying on your LinkedIn profile is true, and then they're more likely to contact you. So you can see just here, I'm just showing you a little example of further on down in my employment section. I've continued to ask for recommendations over the years, and also people have just volunteered to endorse, which is really lovely as well. The next section that I have on my profile at the moment is the skills and endorsement section. Now you can, like, this is really good credibility factor as well. So this basically shows that 99 plus people have recommended me for resume writing. A few have recommended me for career management, personal branding, career development, all of those skills, which is excellent because that's where I've really been concentrating over the last 8 years. But just say that you're wanting to maybe steer your career in a completely different direction and you want to highlight skills that you don't actually have and you haven't maybe been endorsed for. You can actually rearrange these skills, and this is what I've done just to give you an example of, so that you can pull down the ones that you really don't want to do anymore, you don't want to offer, you don't want to do in your next job. You just pull them right down so people can't tick and flick and endorse you for the skills. So now what I'm doing, I can actually rearrange my skills and saying if people are happy to endorse me, then actually I want them to endorse me for more personal branding and some other online marketing skills now. So that's why I've boosted those up to the top, and you can still see that I've got heaps of recommendations for other skills, but I've managed those more effectively to steer my career and my future in the direction that I want it to. The next section is your education, and this basically shows that you've got the required certifications that are needed for the types of jobs that you'd like to go for. So you don't have to put in every single degree or course, just put in the ones that you know are going to impress the people for the jobs that you'd like to target in the future. One of the last sections is the additional information. So if you want to tell people your birthday or your marital status or advice for contacting you, you can do that as well. And that's also a very good idea. Up in the top section, you will have the contact us info there that people can click on really easily. So I definitely would click on that. I'll definitely make sure that that's filled out as well, but just for extra oomph, if they don't know to click on that link, then at least you've got it down in the more information. So yeah, I hope that that's been of some help. LinkedIn is really excellent for steering your career in the direction that you want to go. So like your career success, it depends on your ability to develop relationships within your industry network and also the value that you offer to prospective organisations. Now you can use LinkedIn to activate both of these strategies. That develop relationships online and then go and meet them for coffee or at a networking event or an industry association night. And also show people your expertise, show them the value that you can offer through the groups. LinkedIn as well allows you to build and acquire a really strong depth of knowledge of your chosen industry. You can be known quite easily as someone who is quite knowledgeable within your field. So when you help another LinkedIn member by answering a question, for example, you show that you've got the knowledge and the skills, and also that you've got the great attitude, you've got a lot of goodwill, which is a very attractive trait. So now you've got a choice on whether to ignore LinkedIn or learn more about it, learn more about this social media platform and how it can boost your career for years to come. I'd like to invite you along to a webinar if you're interested. You can book your seat at my at the webinar. I do them every third or fourth Thursday. So if you want to find out a little bit more, I'll give you some information. LinkedIn definitely works. Like it gets you to interviews. This is just one of our clients from not so long ago who just wrote in to say thanks so much because he got 2 interviews within 2 weeks actually, and they both found him on LinkedIn. He didn't do any job searching. He didn't write any applications. we just uploaded his profile for him. So it definitely works. So come along. You need to book your seat because seats are strictly limited. Go to melbourneresumes.com.au. You can have a look down here /events/webinars. That's got all the details there on the site. I'm going to teach you how to use LinkedIn for an easy job search, because it really is easy. You don't have to apply for so many jobs these days. If you've got a good profile, the recruiters and the headhunters and the employers will find you on LinkedIn. So we're just in the webinar, we'll be going over 3 things: discovering the 10 steps to create a profile, discover how to use LinkedIn so employers search consultants can contact you directly, and how to use LinkedIn safely and confidently without your current colleagues knowing what you're up to, which is extremely important. Don't do anything until you've actually attended this webinar, because that alone is very important. So I hope this has been of some help to you. I look forward to hearing and participating in the webinar, and I will speak with you shortly.
Just imagine that some of my audience members would like to have a new job. How could they possibly use LinkedIn to search for jobs, to get new jobs, to apply for new jobs?
Yeah, so the jobs feature, actually, that's one of the best parts about LinkedIn. You can look for jobs. So people that post jobs, that's an obvious way. That's obvious, right? If you see a job posted and it's on LinkedIn, you apply through LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd tell you, though, you're still going to end up on the bottom of the slush pile. Instead, use LinkedIn as a research tool. So where do you want to work, Sylvie? Let's say you want to work at JP Morgan Chase.
Mm-hmm.
So what do? You do a search for JP Morgan Chase, and you see that you have 0 first-level connections. So nobody you're connected to works there. Crap. Do I stop? No, not at all. You go. So you look and you say, okay, well, who do I know that has a connection at JP Morgan Chase? I look and I see that somebody does. And then here's the secret. Don't use LinkedIn. Call them. Hey, Sylvie, it's Phil. Hey, how are you, my friend? Hey, I see that you know Mohammed over at JPMC. Would you be willing to make an email introduction to him? Or better yet, I'm going to be in New York City and he's over in Jersey City. Can we go over and let's maybe see if we can have lunch with him? And you invite him and I'll pay. Mm-hmm. Well, Sylvie likes free food. Mohammed likes free food and Phil wants a job. So we're going to go out and we're going to have lunch. That's the best way to use LinkedIn. And if you can't do it that way, then use something like Zoom. Use something like Skype and see if you can do just a 15-minute call. So set up an easy way to do this. Use Calendly.com, Calendly.com, and set it up so that you have a 15-minute slot. And then when people say, well, hey, I'm going to work on this, but I don't know when they're going to be available. Well, when you call them, you can have my calendar open too, so you can compare. Bang, it's booked. Mm-hmm. Holy cow, now it's done. LinkedIn is a great research tool for that. And then you can do that more research on other social networks. So you can see that maybe Mohammed has a cat. So maybe you bring a cat treat. Maybe Mohammed has a child, so you can bring a kid's treat. Mm-hmm. Or maybe Mohammed has a spouse that he forgot it was her birthday, and you can bring a birthday card for him. Yeah. Any of that stuff.
Wonderful.
This is Bonnie Power, and today I just wanted to give you a quick overview of why you should perhaps be on LinkedIn. So I've been running LinkedIn campaigns and on LinkedIn for the last 10 years, and I get this question a lot from people who are particularly good at networking offline. They've done a lot of, that belly-to-belly networking. They don't really need online networking like LinkedIn, but now they're becoming really curious about what it might be able to do to meet their business goals and help them with the future. So let's get started. Just to give you an overview, LinkedIn is a networking site that can be described as being particularly good for business people. So if you're a specialist, a coach, consultant, executive, it's all good for you to connect with industry colleagues and also potential business partners, joint venture partners, strategic alliance people, as well as, my favourite, your ideal prospective type of client. So LinkedIn is great for building up your business network and then generating leads. So the purpose of your LinkedIn profile is simply to really strengthen your personal brand. And it's the foundation of all the work and all of the proactive outreach you do to these people you want to connect up and do business with. So the thing is, though, that first and foremost, people are, when they meet you face to face or over the phone, they're going to want to get a quick overview. So they're going to Google your name. And from there, they're going to actually see probably your LinkedIn profile. It'll probably come up in the first 2 or 3 search results when someone Googles your name. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that your LinkedIn profile looks really, really good. And I've got some great free training on my website as well as my LinkedIn profile that will show you exactly how to create a really good profile so that people feel compelled to want to take the next step and inquire about your services. So the other thing that I think you might be interested in is some facts around LinkedIn. Now, I think that it's a fabulous social media platform for doing business and for lead generation, but so does Microsoft. And as you probably know, they bought it. They bought it last June 2016 for $26.2 billion. So it's just, LinkedIn's growing so fast. 2 new members are coming on every second. And as of 2016, 7 million Australians are on LinkedIn, just to give you an overview. So most business people, most professionals, most white-collar people are on LinkedIn. Most people are looking at it now instead of just having a profile and doing nothing with it. Most people now are starting to get curious as to what can I do with LinkedIn? How can it help me attract more customers, develop my personal brand, develop my network, help me get to where I want to go. So I hope that this has been good and interesting for you, a good overview. If you're interested, I've got another video that's coming up the straight, and it's going to show you the top 10 elements of a powerful profile. And that'll be a bit longer than this one. But if you've got any questions, feel free to reach out and connect up with me on LinkedIn. I hope that's been helpful, just a little overview of why you should perhaps be getting onto LinkedIn and sharpening up your personal brand and starting to look at the possibilities that are there for you. Okay, I'll talk to you soon. Thank you. Bye.